Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this new panel on crowdlending and especially general overview on Europe. Let me introduce myself very quickly. I'm Valérie Plagnol. I'm a senior economist and consultant, currently a chief economist at the BIPE. For those who are not familiar with this acronym, it's a French consultancy in macroeconomics. I will briefly introduce our panelists today, and we'll be jumping into the conversation very quickly, discussing especially the overall issues about European regulations with regards to crowdfunding and lending. This is a very interesting topic because, as you know, and I personally come from the banking sector, regulation has come down very, very strongly on the financial environment, and this new area of development has proved to be quite one of a step-by-step approach that regulators have had some problems to catch up with, probably, but they've been also into discussing and cooperating and using different approaches to cope with these new approaches. There is also, of course, an industry issue and competition that we will probably approach within this panel. Let me turn immediately to our first panelist, and that's despite the name that is on this panel. This is John Raven, but he comes from Oxera in the UK. You're a senior economist as well, and I would like you to give us the overview of where the crowd industry lands right now. In the UK, it's definitely the most advanced, but also in continental Europe, and how do you see it in terms of numbers and figures?
No, thank you. And so just a quick bit of background. Reinder and myself co-authored a major study on the UK P2B or crowd lending industry a few months ago that was triggered by the regulator starting a major regulatory investigation into that sector. So it's very important at this time in the UK to have that clear understanding of where P2B lending is going. So what we see in the UK is, as Valerie said, this is it's a major provider of credit. It's bigger than other European countries. We saw about £3.5 billion worth of new lending in 2016. Now, this is steady growth. It's about a 30% increase on 2015, which is what it's been in the last couple of years. It's not explosive growth. That's quite important. And P2P lending is at perhaps a little bit of a crossroads at the moment in the UK. See, 3.5 billion is a big number, but it's only perhaps 1% of the total amount of lending going on in the economy. The lenders are bigger than that relatively in their niche areas, yeah? So particularly unsecured consumer lending, unsecured SME lending, certain niche property loans, invoice lending as well. So sort of niche areas, they have a larger share. But in the UK, most of those markets are really quite competitive. Maybe perhaps consumer lending is the most competitive of all. Yeah, you can go to a price comparison website, you'll see a whole list of traditional banks, challenger banks, non-bank lenders who are using their own money to lend, and P2B lenders offering loans in a highly competitive environment. And that's really this point I'm making about the industry being at crucial crossroads, is because actually it's obviously very important in the short term to find people to lend money to. But really what's unique about this sector, and really what matters from the regulatory point of view, is the other side, the investors. Because in the credit market, they're offering something other people are offering. On the investor side, it is actually something unique that's being offered, a risk-return combination and with liquidity as well that is different from other investments, not just for the retail investors, but also for the institutional investors. And that's the key question, I think, going forward.
Thank you, John. I will turn to Oliver Gajda, who is from Austria. Oliver, you are based in Brussels, and you deal a lot with regulation. You have founded actually a European network with regard to regulation within this particular industry. We have heard that it is still niche kind of market, but it has developed in many, many areas. How do you view the overall regulation? How does Europe interfere? Is it a help? Is it an impediment? And within this level, where do we stand right now?